Spring has sprung in the Derby City, and hope springs eternal for Louisville football. The Cardinals with some new faces, an experienced quarterback, a head coach in his 4th season, and high hopes heading into 2022. And today we get our first look at this new look Louisville team. It's the spring game at Cardinal Stadium in Louisville, Kentucky. What's happening, everyone? Happy Sunday. Thanks for spending some of it with us. Glad to be here alongside Rocky Boyman and Larisha Harris. I'm Drew Carter, and Rocky, it's a beautiful day. We got mid-60s here in Louisville. The sun is shining. We're going to get tan for the first time all year. It's a fun day to be here.
Absolutely. Kind of kick things off here, and nice weather, and we'll get things rocking here.
And Louisville is a team with high hopes heading into 2022. They were sub 500 last season, but if you look a little bit closer at that record, a lot of close losses against some good teams.
Look, it's spring football. Every program has a lot of hope right now, right? But I think it's legitimately palpable for Louisville. Last year they lose 3 conference games on the last play of the game. But then they also have Malik Cunningham coming back in his 3rd year in the system, one of the most dynamic players in the country. A bevy of weapons additions they'll come in, which we'll get into. Offensive line looks good, some new coaches, so definitely some reasons for optimism here around Louisville.
That's right. Everyone's undefeated at this point of the season. But as you said, Rocky, Louisville's got plenty of reason for optimism, and it starts with a quarterback, the most important position on the field. They've got a guy entering his 4th year at starter at Malik Cunningham.
Yeah, 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. That was pretty good, right, last year, and he's only going to get better. There's a lot of things they're working on him in terms of maybe staying in that pocket a little bit longer and waiting to instead of just taking off. But, I mean, again, one of the most dynamic players in the country returning in his 3rd year. Is going to be a really fun year for them.
Almost 4,000 total yards last year. A bit of a Lamar light for this Louisville team. Not the only starter returning. You see 18 of them are back on offense, 10 on defense, and a couple new faces. Lance Taylor comes over from Notre Dame, where he was outstanding running that run game. Wesley McGriff with some SEC experience. New faces on both sides under Scott Satterfield. Last year, as we mentioned, for Louisville, the record is a little bit misleading. You look at the meat of that schedule, Wake Forest, Virginia, and Clemson all went down to the wire.
Yeah, and I think the most disappointing part, Drew, is how they finished, right? They get blown out last game of the year against their rival in Kentucky. Then they lose the bowl game, and every coach wants to take the end of the season, get some momentum. They didn't get that, but I think with, again, some new additions, new coaches, new players, they kind of finally got that juice back heading into this game here.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a sour taste in their mouths after they got cracked by Kentucky in the Governor's Cup and then lost in the bowl game as well. But for Louisville, I mean, this is a team that last year, the ACC was wide open. If it's the same thing this year, who knows? Because if you had Wake and Pitt winning these divisions, congrats to you.
Absolutely. In a sport where people complain about parity, there was a ton of parity in the ACC last year. But, you know, a lot of programs, every program is going to get better. Clemson's going to have a better year. Florida State will get better. Wake Forest is going to be good. But I think the Cardinals will certainly be in that mix.
Yeah, it is now a wide open ACC, which we haven't said for a long time. And Louisville is certainly hopeful. Malik Cunningham is a known commodity. We've talked about him, and we will a lot today. But he's got some new weapons to work with on offense. Larisha Harris has more on that.
Many new weapons, Drew, and because he has those new weapons, he's been able to focus more on becoming a complete passer, keeping his focus down the field so that he can utilize some of those targets. And one target specifically that the coaches and players have both been raving about is the transfer from Central Arkansas, wide receiver Tyler Hudson. Hudson came in, well, last year rather, had over 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns, and he's confident that he can transfer his abilities here at the Power 5 level. He says he has a point to prove because many people overlook and underestimate those coming from the FCS level. Guys?
Well, Larisha, you're right. I mean, you talk to folks around this program. He has been the talk of camp. They say, I mean, literally every day he would make some kind of wow play. Certainly maybe one of the biggest early impact additions to this team this program has seen in a long time.
Yeah, he had over 3,000 yards at Central Arkansas, a school record. So we've talked a lot about the players. We got to talk about the head man in charge, Scott Satterfield, in year 4 at the helm of Louisville. We'll dive into him and his new look staff when we come back. Well, across the ACC, you're going to see some new faces leading these programs. 4 new head coaches. Brent Pry, a homecoming for Virginia Tech. Hokies fans excited about him. Duke has a new head coach for the first time since 2008 as Mike Elko takes over after David Cutcliffe left. Tony Elliott goes to Virginia from Clemson, and then Mario Cristobal at Miami. A lot of new faces. Scott Satterfield remains entering year 4 at Louisville.
Absolutely, and I think, look, first of all, Scott Satterfield kind of spoiled everybody in his first year, getting 8 wins and then a little bit of a down couple of seasons here, but again, really thinks he can help turn this program back around. Really enjoyed talking with him here this week.
Yeah, Satterfield, almost a victim of his own success with that big turnaround back in 2019, his first year. Easy to forget, Louisville won 2 games in 2018. Satterfield comes over from App State. It's the biggest turnaround in Power 5, winning 6 more games, going to 8-5. Ever since the records don't look quite as good, but I mean, he set the bar high for himself.
Well, and look, let's face it, he had to do a lot from a culture building standpoint here when he first got here, and he really thinks that can come into fruition here now in year 4.
So with the Cardinals this year, we've talked about the close losses. On the trajectory for this program, where do you think they kind of stack up in the ACC right now?
I think they can be near the top. Look, they got the #1 problem taken care of, and that is the quarterback, right? You got to have that guy at quarterback, and Malik Cunningham, as we've talked about, 3rd year. That doesn't happen anymore. You get a dynamic player for 3 years in a system. I think some of the things they're working on with him in terms of staying in the pocket a little bit longer, by all accounts, that's worked out really well this spring. You got an offensive line, 9+ guys that can play their weapons. So you start to go down the checklist of what's important in building a championship football team. I think Louisville has a lot of them. I still think there's some questions defensively, which is why spring ball has been so important to this program to try to work some of those things out.
And also a couple key injuries, especially on the defensive side. They've got some guys coming back, and also a couple new coaches on both sides of the ball that Cardinals fans are really excited about. On offense, the new OC is Lance Taylor, comes over from Notre Dame, where he ran the running game for the Fighting Irish. And on defense, the new co-defensive coordinator is Wesley McGriff. A lot of new faces on this coaching staff.
I really enjoyed talking with Lance Taylor. He said, look, I mean, he was at Notre Dame. He was going to be a part of Marcus Freeman's new regime there, which is a pretty nice place to be. But he really thought, I think it speaks a lot to how much he thinks this program can be here at Louisville, that he would get out of that job, come here, and really lead this program. Really enjoyed talking with him as well.
There is Lance Taylor, and by the way, you're not hallucinating. That was Deion Branch's name on your screen. He's back in Louisville, one of the greatest Cardinals ever, the Super Bowl MVP. But Lance Taylor, I mean, what an impressive guy he was today, Rocky. That guy's going to be a head coach whenever he wants to be.
Correct.
You think about some of the names that he has overseen at Stanford: Christian McCaffrey, Bryce Love. With the Panthers, he's in the NFL for a while. I mean, this is a guy with real experience. Yeah, even though he's still young, he's coached some real dudes.
And the thing you hear when folks talk about Lance Taylor, every place he's stopped, he's made an impact, and they think he can make a big impact here at Louisville.
Yeah, he was fun to talk with today, and Larisha Harris is standing by with the new coach.
Coach, you came to this school and you said you had to have a reason to come here. Once you got here, what was the first order of business for you?
Yeah, I think sitting down with our leaders on offense, I felt like we had a lot of great production, offensive production coming back with Malik and our offensive line. And that was the first order of business, getting to know those guys. It's all about relationships for me and for Coach Sat, and one of the reasons why I wanted to come here was because of the foundation that he has built, the culture that he's built, and I think this program's really ready to take the next step. And I've seen nothing but, to confirm that since I've been here.
You told me that Malik Cunningham actually reached out to you once you got the job. How did that make you feel?
It was awesome. It was great to have your starting quarterback, a fifth-year senior, reach out and say how excited he was. That's kind of the connection that we have as Bama boys together. He's from Montgomery, I'm from Mobile. We kind of joke with each other about that, but he has been awesome. He has taken the next step in leadership, taken the next step in football IQ, all the things that I've really challenged him with. He has been the leader at the forefront for our offense, which is exciting to see.
You have a ton of weapons to utilize, right, in your wide receiver core, in your running back room. How do you share the ball in those specific areas, being that you have so much talent?
Well, we always say there's enough for everybody to eat. I think in Coach Sat's offense, he's done a great job of sharing the love, sharing the football with run game and pass game. We really want to be balanced, and there's enough to go around when you're having success and you're getting first downs. There's enough for everybody to get the ball. So it's a good problem to have, one that I'm excited about the challenge of.
So what are you expecting to see from your guys today during the spring showcase?
Yeah, I just told them I wanted them to treat this like a game day atmosphere, to prepare just like that they're going to play on Saturdays. It is a controlled scrimmage, so we'll be doing some practice-type drills, but also some game-like drills. And I just want to see how they prepare and get ready to play the game, because we've talked about their habits, and I want their habits to carry over to game day. So this is the first opportunity that they get, and we get to see if those translate and carry over.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you. Good cards.
All right, Larisha, it is exciting here at Cardinal Stadium. We've got some butts in seats. They're not pink seats like they used to be, but people are excited to see the Cardinals. And if you like spring football, we've got a full helping coming at you Saturday here on ACC Network. BC, Clemson, UNC, FSU, NC State, and Pittsburgh. All those games, rapid fire style, settle in and get your fix of football in the spring. Yeah, that's beautiful to see here on ACC Network. We've got Louisville here today, and Malik Cunningham, one of the best quarterbacks returning in college football. Could he be a Heisman contender in his 5th year at Louisville? We'll talk about it next. It is spring game day for Louisville football, and last November the Cardinals honored one of the best to ever do it, not just at this school but anywhere. Lamar Jackson, the 2016 Heisman Trophy winner, became the 2nd Louisville Cardinal ever to have his number retired alongside some guy named Johnny Unitas. So pretty good quarterback history here with Louisville, especially recently with guys who can do both running and passing. Lamar Jackson, not only the youngest guy to win the Heisman in a long time, but the youngest guy to start an NFL playoff game as well when he started one for the Baltimore Ravens. So a good tradition for the quarterbacks here at Louisville. See Lamar Jackson, we were talking about some of the numbers, Rocky. I mean, this was just stupid what he did at Louisville. 5,000 total yards in 2 straight seasons. Come on, man.
Yeah, from an NFL perspective, I live in Cincinnati, and in my hometown, Cincinnati Bengals were happy he was maybe a little dinged up this year, but that's not going to happen. He's going to come back and be at full strength, and what a tremendous player he's been.
He's so fun to watch, and he's carried it over from Louisville to the NFL, and a guy trying to follow in his footsteps is Malik Cunningham. Mentioned he's kind of a Lamar light. The numbers aren't quite as eye-popping, but no one has numbers like Lamar Jackson. But Cunningham kind of in that similar vein. He's a little bit bigger, but great runner and developing as a passer.
He's in that same vein of he gives defensive coordinators nightmares, because you think about how do we stop this guy, and you can call the perfect defense, have the perfect coverage, and he's a guy that can just flat make a play. And that's what's so hard about defending him, is just how he just can go and move around. But he's a guy that is working on some things. He wants to become more of a complete quarterback this year, but in the past it's been phenomenal. The accuracy for a guy who likes to run around a lot has been there. The deep ball accuracy is something that we know is a constant. That has been there for him, but then it's just how he makes plays with his feet, especially, Drew, once they get inside that 25-yard line, inside that red zone. He is just an absolute demon to try to defeat out there.
Throws such a pretty deep ball, and this is where he's really electric when he tucks it and runs. Last year he became the only Louisville quarterback to run for 1,000 yards other than Lamar Jackson. He's got all the talent in the world. He enters his 4th year as a starter. He's going to turn 24 years old during this season. I mean, this is a guy with experience.
Right. Well, and the major point of emphasis for him this spring has been, can we get him to hang in the pocket a little bit longer? Can we get him to that third option? Can we get him to hit that check down instead of just trying to run it every single time he feels a little bit of pressure out there? By all accounts, he's done well at that this spring, but the question is, can you teach an old dog new tricks? Now, I would say if you don't see it often where a guy who's kind of a run-around dual-threat guy can become a pocket guy, but I think Lamar Jackson's someone who's proved you can do that. As he's advanced in his NFL career, he's maintained himself more in the pocket, and that's the kind of thing they want to see out of Malik Cunningham this year.
Right, yeah, it's a dual purpose for Malik Cunningham this year. Play well at Louisville, win some games, also put yourself in position to get drafted in the NFL. Larisha's got more on Malik.
Yeah, those are some of the goals and dreams that Malik Cunningham has, right? And he told me that when he spoke with Deion Branch, who is the director of player development, Deion told him, write the vision, make it plain. If you have a dream, you need to visualize it first before you actually physically see the results. And at first, Malik Cunningham said he sort of blew over that method, rather. But as you can see in the video, he has written down his goals and dreams ever since. That's a video from last season. And so now he's taking that method and he's utilizing it all throughout his life in every other aspect. He told me that he's writing those visions down, and it's something that he will continue to do going forward.
Yeah, I think that's cool. Look, put it out in the atmosphere, right? What do you want to be? What's your goals? Put them out there, write them down so you subconsciously see them every day, and I think it's going to work out well for that young man.
Yeah, Malik manifesting some of his goals on the mirror. Love that. And he's got some help on offense this year, some new weapons on this Louisville team. It's not just Cunningham. I think a lot of people will tell you he's tried to do kind of everything on his own in the past, but they've got some real guys around him. Caleb Chandler, a great offensive lineman, maybe the next in line in that Louisville lineage of great offensive linemen. And the tight end, Marshawn Ford, the only tight end in the ACC to lead his team in receiving last year.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a great weapon for them, kind of came out of nowhere. But that's the thing, is they got some guys coming back from last year. They'll get some transfers. So Malik Cunningham isn't going to have to do it all himself. He can rely on some of these other weapons, and I think that's going to work out really well for this offense.
You're looking at Jalen Mitchell right now, probably going to be at the top of the depth chart, but that's one thing we're watching today in the spring game is we don't really know. They've got 4 running backs listed as the either-or starter at this point of the season, along with Tyon Evans, a Tennessee transfer, Travion Cooley, and Jawar Jordan. But Mitchell probably the favorite to get the first carry this year.
Probably, but look, and we talked to Coach Satterfield about this. This is a good problem to have, right? To have a loaded running back room. But he said, look, it's important that not every one of these guys are the same. It's not like they have 4 running backs who are the same. They got guys that are good between the tackles. They got guys that are good in space. They got guys that are good at juking people. So it's going to kind of be some time to see how that works out, but it's a good problem to have all those running backs.
Absolutely, a well-rounded running back room. And Marshawn Ford, what a star he's become. Started his career as a walk-on, obviously now on scholarship, a third-team All-ACC performer last year, and what a weapon, not just downfield, but a security blanket for Malik, too.
Well, and he can play anywhere. You can put him in line, you can put him in the slot, you put him out wide, he blocks, he catches the ball. It's just one of those, again, pieces that a defensive coordinator says, how do we take this guy away? It's going to be really hard for Marshawn Ford.
We mentioned Ford led the team in receiving last year. At wide receiver, that's kind of the question mark on this team, is who's going to step up. We talked about the transfer, Tyler Hudson. The other Tyler Harrell, is a dangerous weapon for Louisville. We will see who steps up for the Cardinals in the 2022 season. And the defense, that's really the unit that they're looking to take the next step. Last year kind of struggled. They've got a new man in co-charge and Wesley McGriff. We're going to break down the defense as we get you set for the Louisville spring game coming back on ACC Network. We are back on ACC Network, back at Cardinals Stadium. Get you set for the Louisville spring game before the 2022 season. Year 4 for Scott Satterfield at the helm of this program. And the head coach joins us at the desk right now, Drew Carter, Rocky Boyman. Now with Scott Satterfield, the head coach of the Cardinals. How we doing? Beautiful day, Coach.
Man, what a day. You can't beat this right here. Because we've had some up and down weather for sure. It was 82 one day and it was 44 the next. You get snow. I mean, but today is perfect, man. We dialed up a great day.
It's life in the Midwest. I live here, Coach. So, Coach, 6-7 last year. As you reviewed the tape and you broke down some things, what were maybe the major points of emphasis where you said, these are the areas we got to get better as a football team?
Yeah, I mean, we had a solid year last year. Obviously not where we wanted it to be. We were really close in several games within our conference. There's a lot of things we got to do better. You know, we got to be better on third downs. We got to be better in the red zone. We got to score touchdowns instead of attempted field goals. Got to create more turnovers defensively. I thought we got to do a better job, not giving up the big play in the passing game. I think, just a few things that we think if we can correct a few of those things, then you're going to be right there in the conversation with the ACC. And I think it's wide open. It's for anybody. I mean, I think that was proved last year, and I think this year will be no different. There's a lot of good teams this year in the ACC, and it's going to be a battle. It's going to be fun, so we're excited about it.
Yeah, we talked about that off the top. If you had Pittsburgh and Wake Forest in the ACC championship game, go ahead and cash your ticket. You could probably retire. But you've got some help this year, Scott, with some new coaches, a new offensive coordinator, a new co-defensive coordinator. What was the goal of bringing those new faces in?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you want to bring guys in that are going to add to what we already got going on. I think, bringing Lance in from Notre Dame, he's, been knowing him for a long time, and, he brings some great organizational skills, some new ideas to what we want to do offensively. At our core, we're going to be the same thing, but what he's going to bring to that, a lot of energy, a lot of juice, and he's been great for us this spring. And then on the other side of the ball, defensively, Coach Crime is coming in over there to help. He brings a lot of experience. He's a little bit older. He's been around the game a long time. He's been in the SEC. He's been in the NFL. He's done a lot, and he's a great staff guy, meaning that he comes right in and fits right in with all the coaches. But he's been good for our players too. So I mean, those guys. We brought Ben Souders in from Georgia. He's used to winning. Obviously, they just won a national championship, and he's there for the last 4 years, and he's done a great job for us coming in. And right off the bat, they won a national championship. 2 days later, he's with us. you know, and I think all these guys have been great additions to our staff. Love having them around. And it's a good mix, a good chemistry, and I think that's what you want. You want to have a good mix of chemistry that's going to filter down to our players, and our players are really adhering to what they're saying.
Coach Crime, real soft-spoken guy, right? Real
yeah.
low-energy guy.
Yeah, you wouldn't even know he's in the room, huh?
Coach, I wanted to ask you about Malik Cunningham, and I know one of the points of emphasis is maybe trying to get him to hang in that pocket a little bit more instead of taking off and running, even though he's so dynamic at that. Why is that important, and how has he been trending in that direction here in camp?
Well, you always want to get better. You know, last year he was, close to 4,000 yards, total offense, 39 touchdowns. But how can we improve that? He did a good job taking care of the ball. Well, one of the ways is to be able to check the ball down. You know, everything's covered up the field. You don't have to take off and run every time. Let's find the underneath route, running backs, the tight ends that are working that 5 to 7 yard window across the ball. And that's the one thing he's gotten better with that this spring, and not having to rely on his legs. We know in next season he's going to be able to run. He's going to get those rushing yards. But you also want him to stay healthy. And I think if we can take a few hits off of him and maybe dump the ball down to some of the other players, it's going to help our offense. The other thing is we got some good players around him. We got some really good weapons around him. Talk about Marshawn Ford. You talk about our running backs. There's 4 of those guys that we feel really good about. And then the new additions that we brought in at receiver. So he's got a lot of help. And then also I got to mention our offensive line. The offensive line, man, they're solid this year. We feel really good. There's 9 guys that can go in there and play for us this year. We've developed a lot of great depth. Coach Cardwell's coming in here and taking over that offensive line, brought a renewed energy, I think, up front. And man, I'm so excited about that bunch. Maybe he's excited about the offensive line as any on our team.
How about defensively? We know last year you had some injuries, struggled with. How does that unit look?
Yeah, we did. Monty Montgomery went out early in the season with an ACL. Trey Clark, an all-ACC performer at corner, went out with an ACL. Duncan is our safety that had some injuries. And so those guys have really not done much this spring. A lot of the young guys are getting work. Josh Minkins is a guy who started, last year at the bowl game, so he got some work at safety. A couple of standouts. Yaya Diaby up front is he's had a really, really good spring. Ashton Jalot's had a really great spring up front. Excited about those guys. We brought in a transfer from Ole Miss. Momo has done some great things for us. His leadership, because he's an older player. So I think, our front 7 is really meshed and gelled well. We're just a little thin in the back end just because of injuries. And then we got some guys that are going to be coming in this summer to add to that. And so, we'll have a much better unit on that side of the ball.
I want to jump back quickly to offense because we've talked a little bit about him already, but Tyler Hudson, the wide receiver transfer from Central Arkansas, by all accounts, Coach, he's made a wow play every day in spring practice. Talk about him.
Yeah, I mean, he comes in and from FCS level, but he put up, great numbers there. He's got great size. He's 6'2", 200-pound player, phenomenal catch radius, great hands. But what he's done a really good job at is just his spatial awareness, finding those holes, knowing when to sit it down, knowing when to work the next window. He's just got a good sense for that, a good football IQ. And the other thing is he's been able to play a lot of different positions for us here. He's playing outside, he's playing inside, he's doing a lot of different things, and which I didn't know how quickly he'd be able to pick that up, but he's done a great job with that. And we got Wiggins that transferred in as well on that side of the ball, playing an outside receiver for us, and he's done some great things as well. So a couple of newcomers right there, I think, that are really going to add to our offense.
Yeah, it's a new era of college football, right, Coach? I mean, the recruiting is not just high school guys anymore. Tell us about some of those transfers you got.
Yeah, it's changed the game. Tyon's another guy that was a great player at Tennessee last year, a running back from South Carolina that, comes in here. He's about 212 pounds, very, very low to the ground. He's done some really good things. He does have speed also, and add him to the mix of already a deep running back room. I think that's great for us because we like to run the football. We want those guys in there. We mentioned D. Wiggins and Tyler Hudson that have added to the mix offensively. Add them to the Marshawn Fords, the Tyler Harrells of the world that we have that can make plays for us. And I really think this could be one of the better offenses out there this year in college football. I mean, we have a lot of weapons, and we're like everybody else. You got to stay healthy. We got to have those guys that are going to be playing on Saturdays, and that's one thing about the spring games, because we are missing some guys, and I think Cooley's another running back that did some great things for us last year that is kind of dinged up right now, so we won't see him today. But really happy about some of the depth that we do have at running back, and man, these guys have an opportunity to go out and have a great year.
Coach, talk a little bit about that running back depth. 4 guys but not the same guy, right? They're all a little bit different attributes.
They
correct?
are. They are. You know, we have some guys. We have a couple of big guys. When you think about Mitchell and Tyon, those guys are your 210-pound backs. You know, I really like what they can do as far as just pounding that ball in there. They can catch the ball out of the backfield. Cooley's around that 200-pound range. We saw him catch some balls last year for us, and really he's maybe one of the more improved players that we've had this spring. I mean, just some of the things that he's been able to do. And then Joe Jordan is a guy that had a 100-yard kickoff return against Air Force in the bowl game, and the last couple weeks of the season really turned it on. And he's had a really nice spring. Now, he's 185, so he's a little bit smaller, but he's got that juice. He's got the juice in the legs. Now, he can pick him up and put him down, as we noted in the bowl game. So I'm really excited about what he can do as well. So, I mean, really all four of those guys, we're going to need all of them, and I love what they bring to the table at that position.
I think Jawar Jordan's Twitter handle is Cuts on Dime 25 or something, like LaShawn McCoy. It fits, right?
Yeah, it does fit with him, and he can. He can cut on the dime. Once he breaks through, he's one of those guys that can take it the distance. The other thing about him that I didn't even know is that, man, the pile always moves forward with him. You know, even though he's not that big, those legs are always churning, and he's always falling forward, and that's a great attribute to have also, especially for a guy that can cut on the dime.
I want to go back to Lance Taylor, offensive coordinator. What specifically has he helped you with just in these first few months here?
Really just managing everything, you know, where I'm getting pulled in a million different directions. Right. So he's been one of those guys that come in and manage our offensive staff, you know, setting up the meetings, you know, having an agenda for the day so we're not wasting time. He's in there running those meetings. And then also that voice for the offensive unit. That voice in that when you have those unit meetings where he's down in front and he's really just, man, I'm here to be the offense coordinator. I'm here to run this offense and to make us the best offense in the country. And that one voice there has been huge, where I don't have to, you know, be able to be in all those meetings at the time, you know. And so he's been a great addition in that regard and brought some good ideas to our offense of things we can tweak and make different. So, yeah, really, really excited about him. I mean, he's a great person too.
Is that part of the evolution for you as a coach? I imagine you get that big job and there's the tendency to want to kind of control everything, right? Yeah. Is that kind of you now saying, let me delegate this a little bit and where I can maybe have some certain areas of focus?
Yeah, I mean, I think as much as help as we can get to help our football team. I want to win football games. I mean, that's our goal is to win. Whatever we can do to help ourselves win. At the same side of things, you know, I've called plays since 2003. I mean, I've been doing that for a long time. I enjoy doing that. So, you know, you want to continue to do the things that got us here. You know, there's a reason why I'm sitting here at Louisville. And so you want to continue those things, but also what can we do to enhance it? You know, how can we do that on a daily basis? Because, you know, Saturdays are just 12 days a year. But what are we doing the rest of the time to get better? And I think that's where he's really came in to help that. And I love that. He's taken a lot off our plate. And I've become a better coach by having him here. You know, I always want to be a life learner, man. I want to continue to learn and bring guys in here that are going to bring things to the table to help us win.
So, Coach, we're here for the spring game. Yep. What does a successful spring game look like for you?
For me, the number one thing is to come out healthy. That's the number one thing, you know, and if we can do that, then it's been success. It's been a really good spring. And, I think if you ask most coaches, they're going to say it's been a good spring. But for us, our emphasis this year in spring practice, we were much more physical this year. We tackled way more than we have since I've been here because I felt we needed to do that. We need to become a little bit tougher minded in those situations where you have to have those plays. That was the difference last year in winning 6 games or winning 9 or 10. I mean, you have to be that tough-minded player when things maybe not going your way, but you're going to continue to fight and overcome that. And so we've been more physical there, and therefore we've had a few more injuries in spring. But, you know, today come out of here with with some good plays on both sides of the ball, I think, and then also to be healthy, you know, and I think we'll come out a winner. But, man, I'm excited about our football team, and I can't wait to get to the fall.
Well, Coach, we can't wait to see what you guys put out there today. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
All right, well, when we come back, we've got ones versus ones. Louisville going to play some real football when we return. We'll also break down the Cardinals' defense. Well, it wasn't all bad for Louisville in close games last year. They did have a thriller against UCF in Week 3. It's a pick 6 for Jalen Alderman. Takes it back the distance. This was with under 20 seconds left, and Louisville beats UCF. That was a big-time win for the Cardinals, and really a bright spot for a defense which struggled a little bit outside the top 80 in total defense last season. So they make some tweaks. They hope they get a couple guys back from injury. Brian Brown is back. He's been here since 2018, but he has some extra help this year.
Absolutely. I think specifically it's the defensive backfield. You watched Louisville last year. They gave up so many cheap scores, right? Guys are wide open running around back there, and I know that's a major point of emphasis, trying to find that right chemistry on the back end.
You see the last 2 years, I mean, this was a really good defense. A couple of years ago, at least statistically. What do you think the difference was, 2020 to 21, Rocky?
You know, it's just one of those things. I think it's certainly every year there's new challenges and things like that. But I think for them it was just that you got to get back in the back end to technique work, and making sure your fundamentals are right. I know that's something they really struggled with. They also need to get some more pressure on the quarterback. 2 years ago they did that. Did not really do that last year. But I know they think some guys here they found in the spring can help get them that pressure on the quarterback.
All right, we've got players on the field at Cardinal Stadium. This is fun for Louisville fans and anyone who loves ACC football. We've got 1s v 1s for the Cardinals here at their spring game. And to start things off, Malik Cunningham with the give to Jalen Mitchell, so our suspicion was correct. He gets the first carry.
We called it a little zone stretch, which is a staple of a Scott Satterfield offense. It's good to see number 15 out there looking good.
Yeah, Mitchell last year 722 rush yards, tops among running backs. There's Cunningham, airs it out down the sideline. That's hauled in. It is caught near the pylon. Tyler Harrell makes the grab.
And look, there's Malik Cunningham, textbook, just beautiful deep ball right out of the gate. The right amount of air underneath that thing and just drops it right in the basket for Harrell.
He throws a pretty deep ball.
Oh, it's beautiful, man. Yeah. Did well hanging in the pocket there, and he's like, yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, it looks all right. Keep in mind, Louisville will run 8 plays per drive, so even if the Cardinals first teamers score here, they'll go back and they'll run some extras as Mitchell picks up no gain.
Now, we absolutely will not see Malik Cunningham run in this situation here, but last year that's where he did so much damage. But again, they want to work on him, finding those open wide receivers, and I think it's with those 4 running backs, you got to be able to run the ball inside the red zone, inside the 10-yard line. Those 4 backs, they hope he can get it done.
It is Mitchell, and he is in for the touchdown. First score of the 2022 season for the Cardinals is Jalen Mitchell.
And there you see a good look at the offensive line, a little duo play, 2 combination double team blocks, and then just put your head down and get some yardage there. Money for number 15.
Yeah, make it rain,
yeah,
even in the spring. Cardinals offense methodical on their first drive. Jalen Mitchell with a touchdown for Louisville. Spring game off to a rollicking start. Welcome back to Cardinals Stadium in Louisville. The 2's on the field for Louisville right now after a touchdown drive for the Cardinals starters. Malik Cunningham hit the deep pass to Tyler Harrell, and it was punched in by Jalen Mitchell. New quarterback out there for the Cards is Brock Dahman on his 4th school in 5 years. Independence Community College, Campbell and Ventura College, and now with Louisville. And Grant Goodson is out there, the running back with him.
And of course, Evan Conley was the backup quarterback last year. Likely will be the guy heading into this year. He's a little dinged up, so Doman gets the bulk of the work here.
There is Brock Dahman out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. Number 2 on the depth chart behind Malik Cunningham. So it's a Louisville offense that wants to keep their quarterback in the pocket a little bit more than we've seen the past few years. You see Dahman not going to be hit there wearing the green jersey Malik Cunningham, he's so dynamic with his legs, but for two reasons. They want to keep him healthy for the remainder of the season, and they want to prove to NFL teams that Cunningham can stay in there and throw.
Well, that's the thing, and if you're a Louisville fan, you know this. I mean, you look back at the Clemson game last year. They're winning that football game. I believe it was 30-24. They're driving. He gets knocked out misses about a quarter or so, and they wind up losing that football game. So, yeah, you want to keep him healthy. You want him just taking less shots out there. It's important. And I love what Coach Satterfield said about, Malik, and look, you don't have to do it all, but you just want him to be like a point guard out there, just to see the whole field instead of just the natural intuition is just a run. Now I think it's a hard thing to do, because since Malik Cunningham has been like 7 years old, he's been the best athlete on the field, right? So he's running around and he can make all those plays. So can you teach an old dog new tricks? That's going to be the challenge for Malik Cunningham. They think he can do it though.
There's Dahman, little pop. Lays the wood on Jalen Alderman. Getting physical here at the spring game. Yeah, Dahman only listed as a junior, but again, 5 years in college, 3 different stops before coming to Cardinal Stadium. Right now, the backup behind Cunningham. We're getting a look at Louisville's second team offense after the first team offense looked great, going right down the field. Grant Goodson, the running back there. And a new face here in Louisville, Coach Wesley McGriff, who's standing by with Larisha now.
Coach West, many people have been calling you Coach Crime. Can you let people know where that name comes from?
It'll take 2 semesters for me to tell them where that name comes from. But if you remember the character Crime Dog, my last name being McGriff, when I was a little kid, they started calling me Crime Dog and kind of stuck with me. So I just put some personality to it and just kept on going with it.
So you came in, your focus is the secondary. What has been an area of emphasis for you with the secondary this spring?
Say that last part again now.
What has been an area of emphasis for you to work on with the secondary this spring?
Oh, just eliminating the vertical ball and explosive plays. And, after that, and just communicating. We want to communicate at a high level. The one thing we tell them all the time is a great defense is a noisy defense. So let's communicate, co-sign, and let's all get on the same page. And then at the end of the day, man, let's have some fun. Let's have some fun playing the game.
Who has stepped up and really showcased their abilities this spring?
I'll tell you, Josh Mickens has done a really good job. I mean, you can see him trending, getting better every day. Early on in spring training, he was kind of kid was hesitant to communicate, but he's really doing a good job now, quarterbacking the defense, getting everybody set, and it's fun to watch him develop.
You came in, now you're working alongside another defensive coordinator and Coach Brown. How has that dynamic been between you two?
Oh, outstanding. You're talking about him, man. He's very cerebral, got great energy. He's a great leader for the defense. I mean, it's really been fun. And I'll tell you, we got a really good defensive staff. So I'm excited about the way we're going, and I'm excited about this all season because that's when you win the season. But working with Coach Brown has been phenomenal.
What are you expecting to see from your guys today?
I want to see them play aggressive. I want to see them play aggressive. I want to see them be good tacklers, and I want to see some ball production. Take the ball away. Because with our quarterback, if we can give him possessions, we'll have a chance in every game.
Now, I was told that you have a lot of great one-liners. What is your favorite one-liner?
Top shelf. Everything we do, we want to be top shelf.
No question?
No question. You got it.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you. All right.
See, here's the deal. You youngsters, Drew and Larisha, you don't remember McGriff the Crime Dog. If you're an elder statesman like myself, you do. You also got to remember Fred McGriff, the great Braves baseball player. So, of course, that's where the name comes from. But you got to love Coach McGriff. Such a high-energy guy and really, really brought in to help, of course, bring his experience, but also help that secondary.
Malik Cunningham is back out there, and speaking of the defense, it's an interception for Louisville, and they take it to the house.
Let's see what we got here. Wow, that was just a good job. I don't think Cunningham saw him at all.
That's Dorian Jones, the middle linebacker, with a pick six.
And, of course, with C.J. Avery moving on here, a great linebacker here in Louisville for a long, long time. That's going to be an area where they're going to need some help. And That was a great play, just stepping in that window.
I think that interview with Coach McGriff was the good luck charm for the defense.
That's right. Any defensive coordinator will tell you that's what you want. You got to get the turnovers. You got to force field goals, and you got to get the takeaways. In today's college football, with the way offenses are and how wide open they are, you're going to give up yards.
Yard gain. Cunningham and the ones are still out there. And after the pick 6 from Dorian Jones, that's Tyon Evans. First look at the transfer from Tennessee.
You know, they've nicknamed him Bobcat because he runs so low, like one of those Bobcats, right? Real low to the ground, can push people. Just has that low center of gravity. He almost, Drew, like hides behind that offensive line a little bit, and then by the time you see him, he's coming downhill at you.
There is D. Wiggins wearing number 2.
And D. Wiggins, you talk about length. You know, that's what you want out of your wide receivers, length. Guys, they have long arms, long legs that can go up and snatch a ball out of the sky, or if a pass isn't quite on the money, can reach out and haul that thing in. And you see the long limbs on D. Wiggins there.
Yeah, they're excited about these transfer wide receivers, Wiggins and Hudson, who we've talked a lot about. The offensive coordinator, Lance Taylor, was telling us earlier today that they've both been great with their work ethic and their attitude. See Cunningham, there he goes. No one's going to pop the starting quarterback. He's a competitive guy. He's been competing in this spring game. Larisha's got more on those wide receivers.
Yeah, guys, when I talked to Tyler Hudson, he told me that this wide receiver room is scary. That's the word he used to describe it, scary. He said also they're exciting and dynamic. Hudson told me that coming from the FCS level, you know, he had to be the one to motivate everybody. But since he's been here at Louisville, he's had everybody in that wide receiver room motivate him even more. He said he did great things on the FCS level, but he knows that he's going to be able to do even more here because of the great talent and great competitiveness that they have in that room. So again, it's going to be exciting and dynamic to see what this wide receiver core is going to do. And again, they described it as scary.
Well, Larisha, one thing that the OC Taylor did tell us is, you know, he was a wide receiver himself in Alabama. He knows the receivers can have a little diva in them. Not the case with these guys. They've come in, they put their heads down, and they've worked, and they've earned the respect of their teammates right away.
Well, they certainly have. And Tyler Hudson for a transfer, that's a tough thing for a kid to do. You've been in a school for a while, then you come in, new atmosphere, new environment, new playbook, new scheme, but he's really latched on really early. And look, this is a program for the longest time. They had Tutu Atwell, Dez Fitzpatrick, and they were missing that dynamic wide receiver. Nothing against Marshawn Ford, but he's going to be helped by the addition of guys like Hudson and Wiggins and what they can bring to this offense.
And that is Tyler Hudson with the ball there, number 0. They call him T. Huddy. He's already become a favorite in the locker room.
Yeah, he's one of those. It's just you know, how a guy like that slips through the portal. You know what I mean?
Seriously.
But he just developed, and he's really found a home here at Louisville. And Coach talked about it earlier, that the spatial awareness, right, a receiver has to have. When to sit down, when to move in the zone. He's got it. Little errant throw there, but
tried to find him again.
Yeah, and keep going to him.
Yeah, Cunningham and Hudson are developing a relationship already. That's another thing Lance Taylor told Hudson is you got to be best friends with your quarterback. Even if you don't want to be, you got to strike up that relationship.
I tell young players all the time, a receiver, Go be roommates with the quarterback. Go out to lunch with the quarterback, right? You want to be friends with that guy because, look, he's going to throw you the ball. And I think Tyler Hudson, being a smart player, knows that, and he's done that in just a few months here at Louisville.
That was the first miss for Cunningham on this drive. He's now 4 for 5 for 33 yards. There's Tyon Evans again, the Tennessee transfer. Nice tackle made by Josh Minkins, and that's a guy that Coach McGriff spotlighted talking with Larisha.
Yeah, just a sophomore. Good job. Tyon Evans has some speed, but look, he just came out and shot his gun. He didn't wait back and wait for Evans to make a move on him. Boom, he just came downhill and brought him to the ground. I mean, the ability to tackle in open field, that's what offense is all about these days, getting guys in space. So the days of gang tackling are kind of over, right? You got to be able to have one guy, one-on-one, boom, bring a guy to the ground. He did.
Cunningham airs it out again. That falls incomplete, but we've got a flag on the field in a spring game, yes. A sentence you probably never thought you'd hear. We've got a real official crew. We talked with them before the game. I said, are you going to really throw some flags today? They said, yeah, whatever Coach Satterfield wants, so he wants a real game here. It's a hold on the defense.
I know Satterfield does not like seeing that pressure in Cunningham's face and that hand coming down on a defensive player. That's not what you want in a spring game.
It's Chandler Jones, number 2 in red, they're going to get for that hold on Tyler Harrell. There is the head coach, Satterfield. I mean, what a resume for that guy at App State, his alma mater. 6 years. In the last 4, they won 40 games combined in 4 seasons.
Yeah, he really built a major power there at App State. And of course, now, you know, 3 back-to-back Sun Belt titles while he was there. And he brings all that experience and that offensive acumen here to Louisville.
Really laid the foundation, or helped lay the foundation for App State as they move from FCS to FBS. They won 3 straight bowl games when they made that move. Jalen Mitchell back in there at running back. Cunningham looks for him, just airmailed it.
Yeah, that's another one. Cunningham led him a little bit too much. But this is the area where, you know, last year he probably takes off and runs right there, but they really want him, and they've been coaching him to stay in that pocket. And even there's times when this spring there's been a wide open field in front of him, they've made him say, look, you stay back and find that 3rd and 4th option. Just try to get in that habit. It's going to benefit you when the season comes around.
Cunningham throws, it is caught, and Jalen Mitchell skirts into the end zone for the 2nd time today.
That's a good job, Jalen Mitchell, the 2nd leading rusher on this team last year. Just catch a little screen pass, get some offensive linemen downfield there. There you see Luke Kandra, offensive guard, who's really turned a lot of heads here this spring. Sophomore from Elder in Cincinnati, Ohio, has done a great job, and just one of those offensive linemen that Satterfield talked about.
We got to show some love to the big uglies up front. We'll talk about the offensive line more in a moment here. But folks, don't forget Tuesday night on ACC Network, you'll see baseball from Kingsmore Stadium as Clemson hosts number 23 Georgia. It's the first game of their annual home and home series at 7 Eastern Tuesday on ACC Network and the ESPN app. They'll also play in Athens on April 19th. 12-yard touchdown for Jalen Mitchell, his 2nd score today. We're back with more Louisville spring game after this. Welcome back to Cardinal Stadium for the Louisville spring game. Drew Carter, Rocky Boyman, and look who it is. It's QB1 Malik Cunningham, who's already been responsible for a couple of touchdown drives in the spring game. How you feeling out there?
I feel good to get back out there with the guys. I mean, it's probably the first spring game we've had since I've been in Louisville. So it's a good atmosphere. Glad to have the fans back out here, and just to showcase what our guys been doing this whole spring, the last 2 months.
One of the emphasis with you, Malik, this spring has been, you know, working on extending that play a little bit, going through the progressions, and maybe not taking off and running quite as much. How's that been going for you here?
It's been going good. It's very different. Coach came to me like the first day and was like, so this spring we're gonna keep you in the pocket, like no running at all. And I was like, At first, I was like a little startled, but I mean, I kind of figured that was coming. With the season I had last year on the ground, not too many teams was able to stop us running the ball with me as well, with our running backs. And so just staying in the pocket has been the best. It's been going pretty good for me. Shout out to the old line, been protecting well up front, getting me time back there. Sometimes I get stuck back there, like nobody's open. I'm like, Coach, what you want me to do? And then it eventually like just takes over, and he's not very mad about that. Once like we had a play just then, like nobody was open. Yeah. I was just looking to throw, and I was like, I gotta take off. Nobody else got about 4 or 5 yards, so he's been pretty good with that.
How hard is that for you? I mean, you're a guy, you've been the best athlete on pretty much every field you've been on since you were a kid, right?
Yeah.
How much of a shift is that mentally?
It's a big shift, considering, like you said, since I was a kid, being the most athletic kid out there, so just taking it down and running, just using that as an asset. But it's been a good difference, helping me for the next level as well. And so I've been liking it too, save my legs for the season.
That's right.
One thing that stands out to me, Malik, is that the amount of more weapons you're going to have this year. You're not going to have to do it all. Talk about one of those, Tyler Hudson. We've been discussing him. He's been the talk of camp. Mm-hmm. What's the relationship like between you and Hudson?
I take it back to when they first sent him to me, and they was like he led the FCS, and not too many schools were after him, and I was like, and we was his top school. And I was telling him before Coach McGriff had ended up leaving, he was telling me about this kid, and I was like, and he showed me the film, and I was like, yeah, he's a go-getter. I really like this game, and we can really use him in our offense. Glad to have him a part of us. And ever since then, we've been locked in ever since, and it's been going good.
Another new guy is the offensive coordinator, Lance Taylor. He was telling us that when he got hired, you actually reached out to him first. Yeah. Why'd you do that? What's that relationship like?
Just knowing what kind of football he comes from and winning football at Notre Dame. He was on that team that we should have beat about 2 years ago.
You probably reminded him of that, too.
Yeah, I mentioned him a few times about that. But, yeah, Coach, a good addition to the offense, brings a lot of championship habits. He always preaches that, and championship effort. And so going out from day one until now, he's been preaching that every single day. It's not like he said one day and then go on the rug. So, we got to respect that, and the guys are bought in. He knows how to win. He knows how to coach. And so it's good to have him part of our staff. Help Coach Sat out a little.
Malik, as you look back at last season offensively, season ends, what are some things from your perspective where you're like, we got to get better at this, and some things maybe you've been working on to carry into next year?
We got to finish. Every game that we lost, we were in it from start to finish. We started off good, but as always, in the fourth quarter, we got to find a way to win. A lot of the teams that we lost to last year found a way to beat us, whether it be just players taking over, and we just got to find a way to finish those games and from a 6-6 season to a 10-3 season or something like that. Right. So that's been the biggest emphasis for us, just finishing. That's what it's going to be going into the off season and coming up in the fall for real.
Larisha was telling a great story earlier. We had the photo of your mirror where you write stuff on the mirror. We know Coach Branch is a big reason why you were doing that. What's on the mirror heading into this year?
Man, first thing on the mirror is definitely ACC championship. I mean, all the individual accolades will come with team success. I'm a big fan of that. So if we take care of business on the field, everybody else will get what they want in the end. You're not supposed to look ahead of things like that. Just take it day by day, play by play, and just let God handle the rest. You do your part.
I mean, you look at the ACC, Malik, and it's wide open. I mean, look what happened last year, the teams that were in it. Make a case right now. Tell fans, why do you think Louisville can be that team that can dominate and be at the top of the ACC this year?
We got so much grit and so much hunger. Not many teams are talking about us. I mean, of course, teams know who I am for sure, but I have other players around me, other weapons on defense and offense. So just trying to make a name for ourselves. I mean, we know we got to put in the work. It's not going to be given to us. Everybody in the country is working, so we got to find something that helps us stand out when we play those guys.
Last thing, Malik, the tunes here are loud and they're good. The music. Did you pick this playlist? You picked the playlist.
They didn't really put my playlist. I think my playlist is a little too
explicit,
like,
maybe?
Yeah, not even explicit, just too much anger. Sometimes it depends on who we're playing, like whether my mood is, and like if it's a game we hyped up for, like I gotta go like mad music. But if it's a chill day, I go a little R&B.
Amen to that. Yeah.
But not like the R&B y'all thinking about. It's rap R&B, so it's still rapping, but it's just a little slower tune.
Most of the R&B I listened to, Malik, came out before you were born. You wouldn't know, so we're not putting my playlist on. Okay, is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
Malik Cunningham and the Cardinals trying to make some sweet music this year offensively. Good luck this year, Malik. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Malik.
It It is the spring game here at Cardinal Stadium. It's a beautiful day for football. It's fun to have football here in early April. I'm Drew Carter alongside Rocky Boyman. And Rocky, we've seen some offense, we've seen some defense. What stood out to you so far?
Well, look, when we sat down with Coach Satterfield here this week, the number one thing he talked about we got to get better at is defense, right? We got to start doing better, especially in the secondary. And here in the spring game, 2 picks, right? The defense is getting their hand on the ball. So I think that's something certainly Coach McGriff likes to see and Coach Satterfield likes to see. So I think that's moving in the right direction. Those interceptions, the turnovers are contagious, and they hope that continues not just today but on through the season.
That's right. 2 picks and also a great celebration there with the gymnastics.
Yeah.
Get them signed up for the cheerleading
squad.
Don't
hurt nothing, though, right?
That's
sometimes
right.
You get a little,
at your age, Rocky, I don't think you could pull that off.
Absolutely right.
I mean, for Louisville, it's a team that last year they were 84th in the country in total defense. They bring in Wes McGriff. I mean, he's really a secondary guy. We know Coach Satterfield is very excited about adding him to the defense. And he's a guy with SEC experience. He was at Ole Miss and Florida and Auburn. That's his last 3 stops. He should make a big difference. We're already seeing it.
Well, the thing he also brings is he's another set of eyes, right? We talked about with Coach Satterfield. Just, he can't see and be everywhere, right? But you get a guy like Wesley McGriff who's been around forever. He's dialed in. He knows what to look for with all his experience. So, you don't have to quite worry so much about that. Let him take over, especially that defensive backfield, and do what he does, and they should be great.
We've already seen a couple INTs. Dorian Jones housed one. Coach McGriff's defense, and super even-keeled guy. You never really know when he's around. There's Malik Cunningham back in the game, fresh off the interview on the desk. That's a little bit different from what we were talking about, right? They're trying to keep him in the pocket, but that's a designed run.
It's almost like they said, look, all camp we made you stay in the pocket. We're just going to let you run around a little bit today because you're itching to do that. So, it's certainly something. You don't have to worry about how dynamic he is in that realm. It's just taking the opportunity for the amount of hits he's going to take, and also just with the weapons he's going to have, be able to distribute that ball. Coach said he's like a point guard. See that field and put that ball where those weapons are.
They gave him 22 on that run. Jalen Mitchell is back in there. He's made 2 trips to the end zone today. Josh Minkins on the stop after a 15-yard carry. And you see the leading rushers for Louisville last year. Cunningham, the quarterback, only FBS QB to run for over 1,000 yards. Mitchell, the top returning running back runner. There's a deep stable of running backs. Mitchell's been the top dog today, playing mostly with Malik Cunningham. And for more on that running back room, here's Larisha.
Well, we've been talking this entire game about the ability for Malik to stay in the pocket and keep his eyes downfield. But another area that coaches said he needs to work on was actually becoming a better leader. And this is in the area of his mentality and his emotions. Coach said if he could remain at an even kilt, that would be a true help to the team. And so that's an area of emphasis for Malik this spring as well.
Well, Lish, you're right. I mean, the quarterback is the leader of the team. So if you're high, everyone around you is going to be high. If you're down in the dumps and you got a bad attitude, everyone's going to reflect that. So it's important for him. Yeah, you're going to have some bad plays. You're going to have some good plays. But consistency is what you want. Never too high, never too low. That's what a leader of any organization does.
More good defense from the Cardinals here. D. Wiggins on the catch. Wrestling with Chandler Jones. It is a catch for 5 yards for the Louisville offense. But going back to Cunningham, I mean, what Taylor said is it's not enough to lead by example anymore. This is his 4th year as a starter. He's got to do more than that.
Absolutely. The big plays are going to be there. And I'm just excited to see how he's going to utilize these new additions to this offense.
Cunningham keeps it again. And Rocky, you actually had a relevant example of your son playing flag football.
Yeah, it's because, same thing in our game the other day. He's playing well, but then throws an interception and kind of gets down on himself. And I'm like, look, if you go, kind of start showing that you're frustrated, the whole team is going to be doing that, right? So that really hit home what Lance Taylor was talking about in that meeting here today of just no matter what happens, it's on to the next play, positive attitude, because that just exudes throughout the rest of that team.
It was a good throw from Cunningham that time to Tyon Evans, the Tennessee transfer.
It's so important to have a running back in today's football that can get outside the pocket there and be a weapon in the receiving game as well. That's not one he'll normally miss. He's a good receiver out of the backfield.
I know some Louisville fans have been begging Cunningham to take the check down sometimes. They've got really athletic running backs, guys who can catch the ball. Shout out to the guys on the From the Pink Seats podcast. That's a touchdown for the Cardinals. It is Tyon Evans, the Tennessee transfer, with his first touchdown in a Louisville uniform, 17 yards to the crib.
And this is going on the highlight tape for how to stiff arm somebody, okay? This is going to go around, bang. Just put that hand right on that helmet, push it to the ground, and don't really let up any speed at all. And you can see why they really like what Tyon Evans can do. Powerful guy, runs low, good speed and burst to the outside.
Welcome back to the Louisville spring game. I'm standing next to wide receiver Tyler Hudson. How have you been feeling this spring game so far?
I've been good. A little tight because, I haven't got too many opportunities, but I feel great right now. So hopefully within the next 30 minutes, I'll be able to show you what I can do. Yeah.
You told me that you had to come here for a specific reason. What was that reason that you chose Louisville?
I chose Louisville because it was a great opportunity for me, to go to a higher school, Power 5, and showcase what I can do, and hopefully make my wishes come true by making it to the NFL.
So why is it so important for you to showcase your abilities? I know you said you had a point to prove.
Yeah, I had a point to prove because, a lot of people think that FCS players, they're not as good as Power 5 players, but some of us can really ball, so I'm come up here to show them that I can do that.
How has it been connecting with Malik Cunningham, your quarterback?
It's been great. It feels like I've been here for a while, actually. I've only been here for like 3 months, but I feel like I've been here for a couple years now, and by the time the season starts, y'all are going to see that we've been doing really good this spring.
You have a lot of talent in that wide receiver room. How would you describe that core?
Scary. It's scary. I'll tell you that right now. We're going to be great, I promise.
Why so scary?
Because T.Y., Tyler Harrell, run right past you. You can be 10 yards off of him, he's still going to run right past you. It don't matter how far you are off of him. D, that boy a dog. Man, that boy he get grimy, he get in the middle, he going to catch you, I promise you. Me? I do what I do. I'm a jack of all trades, you feel me? So I play slide, outside. I'll even get a jet sweep if I got to. But we all going to make sure we get our money, and we're going to have a great season, I promise.
And speaking of the season, what are you expecting or hoping for the fall 2022 season?
ACC championship, hopefully go undefeated, and then try to go to college playoffs if we can.
Thank you so much, T. Huddy.
Thank you.
T. Huddy aiming high is one of several transfers on this Louisville team, and everyone's fallen in love with Tyler Hudson. You can see why. He's got a lovable personality, as Coach Taylor says, and they've got some weapons coming in.
Yeah, and that's the thing about folks that are entering the transfer portal, especially guys like Tyler Hudson that are coming from the FCS. They don't want to look back in life and say, could I have played at the Power 5 level? Could I have been one of those guys? And I think for him, by all accounts, even just been here a couple of months, he's certainly someone that can play at this level. It's just going to be exciting to watch.
And if anyone knows that FCS guys are legit, it's Scott Satterfield, right? He took App State from FCS to FBS, so going down into those ranks at Central Arkansas, which is one of the best programs in FCS, and grabbing a gem in Hudson. There's Grant Goodson carrying the pile inside the 5. 19 yards for Goodson.
The interior offensive line for both the ones and the twos today has done a really good job up front.
Goodman, the freshman from right here in Louisville, went to St. Xavier.
Y'all give it one more time for C.J. Avery.
We expected to see at least 4 running backs today. Goodman, a guy who's coming from off the chart, if you will.
That's right, yeah. And Travion Cooley has had a great spring. He did not play today. He's got a little bit of hamstring going on. Jordan has the AC sprain, so it's just more opportunities for other guys.
Oh, nice throw from Brock Dahman through the mitts of Des Melton.
That's what it's all about, is when you don't know how many opportunities you're going to get. If you get 20 or you get 2, you got to make the most of them here, and some guys out here today are certainly doing that.
Des Melton, a reserve tight end behind Marshawn Ford. Can never have too many good tight ends.
No,
right?
never.
Dahman waits, throws, sails it a little high, trying to find Jatavian Churchill.
And just going back to your comment about the tight ends, you see anymore in today's football, because the game has become more about space and spreading guys out, the linebackers have gotten smaller, right? A lot of your linebackers are now 6 foot, 6'1", 225, 230. So now all of a sudden you bring a guy with the speed and athleticism of a tight end who's tall, who's 6'4", 6'5 plus. That's the mismatch everyone is looking for in football.
Dahman keeps it. And the quarterback, guess what? Untouched here in the spring game.
That's an easy 6. And Doma doing a good job here with his opportunities here. Kind of easy to score when you got the green jersey on, but he'll take it. Cards looking good here in Louisville.
Welcome back to the Louisville 2022 Spring Showcase. Standing alongside me, middle linebacker Monty Montgomery. You are out for injury, but now you are slowly getting back into the groove of things. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great.
Just great, that's it?
Yeah, I'm feeling great. I can't really say too much, but I'm really feeling good. Moving exceptionally well. Doing well, yeah. It's fun.
So what have you been working on now that you are sort of, slowly making your way back into it?
I've been getting more incorporated with indie drills and stuff like that. I just can't do contact as of right now.
Understood. So now that you have guys coming in and joining you, such as Momo Sanogo, what is it that this defense can do, and what do you guys want to show everybody?
Honestly, we're trying to show everyone in the country that we're the top 10 defense in the country. That's our main goal of this year.
And how has that connection been between you and Momo?
Momo's a great guy. He's a very talkative guy, which is very great because he can communicate things that some people can't, and we can all understand what he's talking about.
You now have a coach, another defensive coordinator, and Coach Crime. How has that connection been between you two?
Coach Crime is great. Honestly, he's an amazing guy. He brings a lot of energy. He's just a great guy. He makes us all laugh, just like Coach Derek Nicholson. Everyone in the staff is doing great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Man, as much discussion about Malik Cunningham and the offensive weapons, again, it's the defense that really has to take that step and get better. They, of course, lose C.J. Avery, their top tackler for a couple seasons, and it's going to be up to Monty Montgomery to be that guy to start racking up those tackles. He had the torn ACL in Game 3 last year, but him, Momo Sanogo, we talked about the transfer, Yasir Abdullah, all his ACC selection is just, for a guy his size, 6'1", 235, the way he can rush off the edge, 10 sacks, 17.5 TFLs last year. You talked about Yaya Diaby, who's really made some strides this spring, Ashton Gelati. There's certainly some dudes in that defensive room, right? It's just a matter of them coming together, I think, from a technique standpoint, learning the ins and outs of that defense, and I think they can be good.
Yeah, Monty Montgomery and Catrell Clark both went down with ACL tears last season. Just maybe their two best players defensively. Both those guys have NFL aspirations. You mentioned Yasir Abdullah, 10 sacks last year. First Cardinal with 10 sacks since Devontae Fields back in 2015.
Yeah, and Yaya Diaby is a guy they really are high on. Of course, he's a senior. He's been around here. He's a guy, I think if you ask Cardinals fans, he's always looked the part, right? He's 6'4", 270. It's just about him being more physical at that point of attack, and by all accounts, he's done better at that this spring.
Cunningham nearly hooked up with T-Honey, Tyler Hudson. He told us he was going to show out a little bit down the stretch here, and that was almost a beautiful pitch and catch.
That was a great job by the defensive back. I didn't get the number there. Just That's what you got to do. He couldn't get his head around, but when his wide receiver's arms go up, you want to put your arm right in the middle of that thing and deflect that ball. That was an excellent job.
It's like 28, Trey Franklin, the junior out of Robbins, Georgia. Got some good DBs named Trey, him and Cottrell Clark. There's Jalen Mitchell back to work, number 15. He's got some real wiggle and speed. His 3rd touchdown today. 34 yards to the house.
Well, look, we talked about it, right? This is a deep running back room. 4 guys, Tylen Evans, Mitchell, Travion Cooley, Jamar Jordan, and look, I mean, he's saying, look, I want to show that I'm the guy out there. There's only so many footballs to go around, but Jalen Mitchell has really come out with a great attitude here this spring, and he wants to take control of that position.
He's not in a green jersey. They could have hit him. He's just elusive.
Running away from guys.
The guy who had offers from Kentucky, Purdue, Virginia Tech, and a bunch of others. The redshirt sophomore out of Rockledge, Florida. 3 touchdowns for Jalen Mitchell. If we're giving out an MVP today, he's probably the guy. Louisville offense humming. Welcome back to Cardinal Stadium for the Louisville spring game. Drew Carter, Rocky Boyman, and Momo Sanogo joins us now, the newest member of this Louisville defense. A lot of new faces on this Cardinals defense. Momo, you're a guy people are really excited about, transferring in from Ole Miss. How you feeling, man? How's the spring going?
I'm feeling really excited about it. The team has came together. Chemistry is huge, especially in defense, and I think we've taken great strides, doing a lot of meeting on our own, and really trying to take that next step to be a dominant defense in the ACC.
You've been a great player at Ole Miss for a while. What was it about Louisville where you said, look, I want to come here?
A huge thing for me was Coach Coach Nicholson. He's a coach that's played exactly in my position, done great things. He's been where I want to go. And just spending time with him, I think when I came on the visit, we met for like 2.5 hours just talking football, and that's what I wanted. And so I wanted to come learn from him.
Nice.
You had a great career at Ole Miss. You had over 100 tackles a couple of years ago. How are you different now, and how do you want to improve toward the end of your career here at Louisville?
Where I've become different is my knowledge about the game, my anticipation, my ability to control the defense and make everyone around me better. You know, I'm not stepping on the field as a sophomore, as a young guy, just doing my job. But like I can make the defense better just by being there, and then make plays on top of that. So
you've only been here a few months, but what's it been like? What are the challenges of learning a new system?
You know, it's been actually fairly easy for me because at Ole Miss I had 3 defensive coordinators, been through 3 different defenses.
So you've seen it all, right?
Yeah, it's actually this defense is a sister defense of another defense I played in, so it's in the same family. So it's actually been pretty easy to learn it.
So you've been hitting the ground running for sure. You already know the system.
Yeah.
Now your man Monty Montgomery was just talking with Larisha. He said maybe a top 10 defense. That's how good this Louisville unit could be. How good can y'all be?
That's the floor of the standard.
Okay.
That like to me, I don't see why we couldn't be top 3, 1. Like I don't see why not. There's so many playmakers on the team. There's so many new guys still coming. Our defense is going to be dynamic on all downs. Different packages coming in, keep offenses on their toes. They can't anticipate what we're doing. So there's really no room for excuses.
I was a linebacker myself, and you tell me from your perspective, what do you like about the position? What is it about that it's like you are so excited to play?
The way I would describe it is like every little kid wants to play quarterback. But then a couple of those little kids like to hit, and those are the linebackers.
There you go. That was maybe the best answer to that question I've ever had. That was excellent.
So you want to hit the guy that everyone wants to be.
Yeah. Enjoy contact.
That makes sense. So your first year here with Louisville, you getting acclimated to the Derby City? You got some go-to spots already? You like living here?
I've got some go-to spots for sure. I like Royals. Royals hot chicken, I think that's what it's called, but I don't know. They got some great milkshakes, some nice tacos. Hit that up every week or two. But no, I haven't got to experience the Derby season yet. That's coming up soon. I think my family's going to come up for that. We'll see. Check it out.
Stay out of trouble. Stay out of trouble.
Yeah,
I've been there.
You're in Louisville. You got to take advantage of it. Momo Sanogo, expect big things from this guy on the Louisville defense. Thanks, man.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Well, the spring game rolls on here at Cardinal Stadium. We've seen some big plays from the offense, big plays from the defense. Some excitement for Louisville fans heading into the 2022 season. Rocky, that's why you played linebacker, right?
That's right. That's right. Well, that is. You ask any kid that wants to play linebacker, it's because they like the physical contact aspect of it. That's what gets Momo Sanogo going for sure.
New quarterback in there for the Cardinals is Nathan McElroy. Throw on the run. Sailed a little high.
And one thing, and just going back to Sanogo, is it's been, Coach McGriff talked about it as well, is just how quickly he's been able to learn a new system. I know he's been around a few systems, but that's not an easy thing to do. I've had experience at that just because the terminology is different. What you used to call a stunt at one place is now different over here, so your head can be spinning. But for a guy like him to come in a few months, already be pretty much ready to go from a terminology standpoint, knowing the ins and outs of that thing is a real credit to him and how much he studies the game.
Well, Rocky, it's pretty wild. I mean, I didn't realize that. 3 defensive coordinators at Ole Miss and now an entirely new system.
And that kind of helps him because it's not like he's only done it one way. He's done it a bunch of different ways. So he's like, all right, well, I've done this before. It's new system, new little tweaks here and there, but no problem.
Well, folks, don't forget, on Saturday, spring football season rolls on. We've got 6 more games. Boston College, Clemson, North Carolina, Florida State, NC State, and Pittsburgh. A chance to look at all these teams before next season starts right here on ACC Network. It's been fun to see spring football season here with the network. Georgia Tech was first. We had Syracuse Friday. I mean, we joke about how everyone's undefeated at this point of the year. Everyone's got hope, but we're expecting a big year for the ACC, Rocky. I mean, last year was different. Last year was wide open, and all these teams have reason to believe that they can be at the top.
Right. I mean, you got so many great players in the ACC coming back. Of course, Malik Cunningham here at Louisville. You got, Tyler Van Dyke comes back from Miami. Brent Armstrong, quarterback for Virginia. Sam Hartman, of course, comes back for Wake Forest. So this is going to be a conference with a lot of big-time players.
And if there are any Clemson fans watching right now, they're saying, well, hey, maybe we can establish ourselves again as the dominant program in the ACC. We'll get a chance to look at Clemson a week from today. Remember how it shook out last year? Again, Clemson not in the ACC championship for the first time in what felt like forever. It was Wake Forest and Pittsburgh. But again, no one had those teams meeting in Charlotte. So if you're any other program, you got to take that as a good sign going forward.
It does. I mean, Pitt was projected to finish, I think, 4th. Wake Forest projected to finish 5th in their side of the conference, and they find themselves in the title game. So I think it does give a coach, especially like Scott Satterfield, a lot of hope where you say, look, we can turn this around, but not just turn it around, but turn it around quickly. We were a few players away. I think they've added those players on both sides of the ball. Now it's just a matter of them coming in, playing consistent football, and they can be on the top.
There is Lance Taylor. Played wide out at Alabama, late 90s, early 2000s. He has been accomplished even as a young coach. Last 3 stops, we told you, Stanford, Carolina Panthers, and Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Yeah, and Coach talked about this, Coach Satterfield, being the lone voice, right? I know one thing they've done here this spring is they've been meeting more as a whole unit instead of individually, and because you want that. Sometimes the O-line coach is saying this, and the wide receiver coach is saying that. You want kind of one theme, and I think that theme is coming out of the mouth of Lance Taylor right now. He's got everybody on the same page, and combine that with his energy and his organization and the players he's coached in his past. I think every player says immediately, look, this guy knows what he's doing, and I want to pick up what he's putting down.
Yeah, all these guys want to be Christian McCaffrey, right? They want to be the first overall pick.
Right.
Yeah, I do too, yeah. You and me both, brother. But he also said that, Christian McCaffrey, when he was the running backs coach at Stanford, probably spent more time with him than with his own kids. I mean, that's an intimate relationship with the running backs.
That is the life of a football coach. It's just all the time, 16, 18-hour days, and they put so much into this craft, and they love being around the game. They love being around these players.
I think it says a lot about the Louisville program too, Rocky, that you could get a guy like Lance Taylor. I mean, he was operating the run game with Kyron Williams, a guy we haven't even mentioned yet. Pretty good name at Notre Dame. I mean, that's a good spot under a new coach too, and Marcus Freeman, another young guy. For him to leave that to come here, that speaks volumes.
Marcus Freeman, one of the hottest young coach names in all of college football. He takes over the helm at Notre Dame, and a lot of excitement the way they've recruited. And yeah, for him to leave that opportunity and come here, that's no, it's not something you take lightly. So he must really think in his mind that this Louisville Cardinal football team and this offense in particular has what it takes to really do something special this year.
Now, they've got a lot of additions to this staff. We're hearing Dion Branch on the Jumbotron right now, new director of player development, former Super Bowl MVP. He is moonlighting as the in-arena host right now.
It's like a mix of like hype man and MC and everything. Dion, what a great player he was.
You know him a little bit, right?
Yeah, we had the same agent, and trained together a little bit for the combine way back in 2002, probably before you were born. But nevertheless, what a special athlete he was. And you want to talk about infectious personality too. Just one of those guys that the room lit up when he would walk in. That was Dion Branch, and I think he's by the way, the perfect role for him right now. Right. He gets to kind of beat. What's your job? I get to beat Dion Branch. Okay. Yeah. He's good at that.
Just ham it up a little bit.
Yeah. And that's always important to have the good players like that, the legendary players around the program, and the players can say, hey, if I develop the way I can, maybe I can be a player like a Dion Branch.
And we were saying earlier on, Dion looks like he could still suit up.
Yeah, he looks good.
Yeah, he's taking advantage of the facilities here in Louisville. It's an exciting time for the Cardinals. Dion Branch, a big reason why. Got plenty more to come from Cardinal Stadium when we come back.
Welcome back. We are here at Louisville Spring Practice. I'm joined by Brian Hudson. You just transitioned over into the center position. How has that been for you?
It's been awesome. It's a position that I've played before, so it wasn't a huge transition, but I'm glad to, be in there, with Coach Cardwell. He's coming in to help me out a lot, and it's just been awesome. It's been a good spring.
Speaking of Coach Cardwell, how has it been, getting acclimated to him and what he brings to you all?
It's awesome. He brings a lot of energy every day. It's nonstop with him, and it's awesome. Our meeting rooms, it's been a little bit of an adjustment, but we've improved a lot this spring, and it's mostly because of him. So,
what has been the key focus for you all as it pertains to your improvement?
So, what we've been focusing on is just trying to be on the same page, communication, and just molding as an offensive line, and just taking over every practice. The team moves as we move, so that's what we've been focusing on, really.
What is the potential of this offensive line, being that you guys do have so many guys returning this year?
Yeah, we have a lot of experience. I think the potential is endless. We could be as good as we want to be. So, every day we've been working harder, and it's showing. So, it's been good.
For you personally, where have you wanted to up your game?
For me, I've been focusing on my pass protection. So, but really, just everything overall. The center plays a little bit different than guard, obviously. You got to make calls and recognize the defense and things like that. So, just being able to do that fast and, just overall my gameplay is just trying to improve. So,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Larisha. 4 of 5 starters are back for the Cardinals, including Brian Hudson starting at offensive line. Nick Cardwell, the guy brings the juice. That's what everyone says.
Another real low-key, quiet kind of guy. And Nick Cardwell, no, they say he really is engaged those offensive linemen, knows those offensive run schemes inside and out. And the best part, Drew, for Louisville is that the depth. How many times do you see a great offensive line, but one key player goes down and then everything just kind of really starts to slack off a little bit? When you have 8, 9 guys that a coach is confident they can put in there and play well. But you got Caleb Chandler, he comes back. He was first team All-ACC. Renato Brown's been around a little bit. Adonis Boone, Kobe Baines has played well. Luke Kandra, we've talked about him, and Brian Hudson now moving over to that all-time center position. I think it looks really, really well. Again, it's all about taking some pressure off Malik Cunningham, where he doesn't feel like he's got to make a play every single time.
How excited are you guys for the next generation of men's basketball?
As Louisville looks to see who's going to be the top dog in the backfield next to Malik Cunningham. Mitchell is probably the leader in the clubhouse. He was their top running back in terms of rush yards last year, 722, and he's looked the part in this spring game. There is Jalen Mitchell, redshirt sophomore out of Rockledge, Florida. Again, over 700 rush yards last year, almost 5 yards a pop, and we've seen him in the pass game. That's something I think a lot of Cardinals fans want to see, is Malik Cunningham take the easy yardage instead of trying to make it happen every time.
No, that's exactly right. When you talk about Malik hitting those checkdowns, who is that most of the time? It's those running backs. It's, of course, the tight ends are involved in that as well, but if a quarterback has got to have confidence in the guy he's throwing the ball to, and if these running backs like Jalen Mitchell showed today that they're proficient in catching the ball, he's not going to feel like he has to take off and make a play every time. Hey, I'll dump it to my running back. I know he'll catch it and turn it into something.
And that was another thing we talked with Coach Taylor about, because he's a running backs guy. He coached the running backs at Stanford, oversaw the run game at Notre Dame. I said, you know, you've had a bell cow pretty much at all your stops. We've talked about the names he's coached. Is that what you want? As Cunningham connects, and there's Marshawn Ford, the tight end, picking up where he left off in 2021 on a 25-yard touchdown pass.
And what a beautiful route, to a little seam route, a little play action, and then the ball comes out right now, just over the head of the running back, and it's just perfectly played. A little play action, linebacker suck up, and then you hit the tight end, your sure-handed tight end, Marshawn Ford.
He's the only tight end in the league to lead his team in receiving yards last year, tops on the cards in catches and yards.
It's just amazing, too. He's a former walk-on, right? Like, it just shows you guys develop at different rates and different times, and sometimes it takes a while for something to click, but then when it does, you can have a career like Marshawn Ford. A guy a couple years ago was an afterthought, and now he's one of the main contributors on this offense. Yeah, I know. Look, we're going to look at Scott Satterfield here. As he said, he's called plays his entire life. He loves calling plays, and I have a feeling he's going to like calling plays this year, because he's like, God, I got all these guys I can throw the ball to, and you don't feel limited as a coach. When you got just that one big-time wide receiver, you feel the need to always go to him, or that one running back, we got to get him the ball. But when everything is on the table, every option for the quarterback, every option for a route or a play call, that's just such a luxury for an offensive play caller.
Let's check out Malik Cunningham. He is the headliner for this Louisville team, back for his 4th year as a starter, showing off that dual threat ability.
Yeah, I mean, his second play of the scrimmage here, just throws a beautiful deep ball. I mean, talk about picture perfect, dropping that thing in the basket here. You know, doing a little bit of scrambling, and then, you know, finding his running backs, as we talked about, which is a point of emphasis this year. And look, we know he can do this, and he's going to still do that. I mean, let's not give the impression he's not going to be a running quarterback this year. He certainly is, but he can truly be a dual threat. I think that's what Scott Satterfield really, really would like to do. Maybe take a few less hits this season, spread the ball around to his playmakers, and then when it comes crunch time, just make a play. That's what they're hoping for out of Malik Cunningham.
Now, Louisville, their defense has made some phenomenal plays today. They have been ball hawks, even against QB1 Malik Cunningham, starting off with a pick 6 here.
No, this has been great. And as I talked about, you know, getting turnovers, getting takeaways defensively is the name of the game when it comes to playing defense because you're going to give up yards, and it's just important for that to become infectious. So they get 2 picks here today. I think that's a good thing. I've seen some couple great jobs of coverage in the secondary. Some athleticism, of course, right there. So I think overall it's been a good day for the defense. What we don't get a chance to see in a spring game because the quarterback is protected is how these pass rushers are going to develop. That's a major thing that has to happen for Louisville this year. They got to get some more pressure on that quarterback because that'll take the pressure off of that secondary a little bit. So we'll probably see that a little bit more as the summer practices start and getting into the season.
Yeah, we're excited to see Yasir Abdullah coming off that 10-sack year. Last year, Momo Sanogo, we got to talk to and get a chance to see. I mean, they've got some guys on this defense who should help them take that next step after they were 84th in total defense last year. And for Louisville, I mean, really the key, Rocky, what it boils down to is finishing these games. I mean, this is pretty stark. This tells the whole story.
I've never seen a lopsided stat like that. I mean, they get out of the gate early, plus 37, and are kind of churning along. But, yeah, you can't finish. Offensively, they can't put the nail in the coffin. And defensively, giving up some of those late scores and allowing teams to kind of hang around a little bit. So I know that's been a big, major area of emphasis for Scott Satterfield here this spring.
And really for the Louisville fans watching right now, what they're saying is the Wake Forest, Virginia, and Clemson games, those were the killers. Here's Nick Skiba hitting the game winner for the Demon Deacons with 22 seconds left. The very next week, Virginia, Brennan Armstrong to Grant Mish for the go-ahead touchdown also with 22 seconds left, which something about 22 had bad juju for the Cards last year. James Turner missed a 49-yarder, which would have tied the game, and then Clemson a couple weeks later, they were in this game, a drive for the win inside the 5-yard line. Malik Cunningham goes down, and it's game over.
Yeah, I mean, that was a tough one right there because Malik Cunningham came out of that game for a little while, like we talked about, maybe not taking as many hits because he missed about a quarter of that game. So if he's healthy, that game probably turns out to be a little bit different. But, yes, I played for Tony Dungy with the Colts, and that was his thing. It was always like the small little details, right? Just those little things. You know, it's not the huge plays that you make. It's just doing the little things right, covering a guy, staying on sides, keeping your balance, that sort of thing. So that's the area of emphasis for Louisville this year. And for Cardinals fans, they hope they can do a better job at that.
So, Rocky, we've been talking about this program for the last 2 hours. Hard to have any big takeaways from the spring game, especially when, Malik Cunningham's not going to be hit. There's not going to be any major contact. But as you think of the Cardinals heading into 2022, from a big picture perspective, where do you think they fall in the ACC?
I think they can be near the top. I really do. I think NC State will probably be one of the teams that beat here. But again, you got depth at the offensive line. You got a lot of weapons at the wide receiver core and running back. But you have one of the top 3 players in the entire ACC in Malik Cunningham. He's in his 3rd year in this offense. He knows it inside and out. He's going to improve. He's a dynamic player. So I think for all those reasons and more, they can have a special season here.
Yeah, Malik Cunningham is a guy, maybe he puts up some Lamar Jackson type numbers. Could get into that.
Coach Satterfield and Cardinals fans would love to see that.
That's right. And they've got some exciting faces here, not only on the field, but off the field as well, with a new offensive coordinator and Lance Taylor, a new co-defensive coordinator, and Coach Crime, Wesley McGriff. I mean, we've learned a lot today. I also got to learn about McGriff, the crime dog. Is that right?
I see. As a child of the 80s, I understand. I'll teach you. I'll get you more caught up on that.
We have plenty of time before the season does begin. Again, Louisville opens it September 3rd at Syracuse. It's going to be a lot of fun. Spring game season rolls on here. One of the best times of the year.
Yeah, this is going to be great. I'll be at Boston College next week. Really looking forward to seeing them. Phil Jerkovic, your quarterback, will be back. So I think there's we talk about parity in the ACC, but also what any college football fan wants, and that's great players. There's a lot of great players in this conference. It should make for some exciting football.
As long as you bring the shades to Chestnut Hill.
That's right, always.
That is going to be a great broadcast. Folks, don't forget the ACC Network. We've got you covered from New Orleans. Nothing but that is coming up. Previewing the national championship game between North Carolina and Kansas. You might have heard that UNC ended Coach K's career the other night. All the analysis, interviews, and predictions tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern on ACC Network and the ESPN app. That'll do it for us from Cardinal Stadium for our entire crew, led by Alex Fermartino and Dennis Lanius, Larisha Harris, and Rocky Boyman. I'm Drew Carter saying so long from the Derby City. We'll get you down to New Orleans. Final Four national championship coverage right now.